Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for today's daily medicine transmission. It is April 22nd, 2021, and the rise of the serpent medicine. We have some things that we need to talk about today, don't we? I hope everyone is doing well. If you are a subscriber to this channel, either on YouTube, BitChute, Subscribestar, in any way, shape, or form, welcome back, and thank you so much. You are truly the lifeblood of this channel. And if you are new here, welcome. It's great to have you. And as always, when you interact with this content in any way, it really does support independent content creators like myself. When you subscribe, when you like this content, when you share it, when you comment, regardless of what platform you find yourself on, when you do that, it signals the AI algorithm that this content is worth pushing out to a wider audience. So thank you and welcome. So we're going to revisit some things today. The moon is moving into Virgo really soon, 9:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So within the hour, within a half hour, 40 minutes, the moon's going to move into Virgo. So when the moon is in these last degrees of Leo, this is really when the Kundalini is rising significantly. And the real question here is, what are we going to do with this energy? Yesterday, we really talked about how we need to recognize how powerful this energy is moving through us. And that fire trine with Ceres and asteroid Juno was really powerful as well. And those two, Juno and Ceres, are going to come into an exact trine today. We are going to revisit, too, where asteroid Juno currently is in Sagittarius, because she is at fixed star Ras Al Hag, in the head of the snake bearer or the snake charmer. And if you remember, and I can't link videos until 24 hours after the live is uploaded or published. And so I will do that. And maybe I will put it on social media as well. If you remember, our total solar eclipse in December was at this degree. And so there's actually a really interesting story that goes along with Juno, which I did promise to tell yesterday. So the moon is going to transit from Leo into Virgo, and we have all of this Kundalini energy now rising. The blood has pumped through our system and is now moving up and through all of the energy centers of our body. And now it's really about, what do we do with that? And when you come into Virgo and the 6th house, that's usually a healing crisis. This energy, the serpent medicine, we have a choice. We have a choice with how to engage with it. So we're going to talk about all the astrological transits that are supporting this process and giving us opportunities to make a choice, because we can use this energy to heal. We can use it to as medicine, as Ophiuchus, the constellation of Ophiuchus and the snake bearer. He was a healer. The caduceus is wrapped in 2 snakes. There is every culture on this planet, indigenous culture or not, has some mythology connected to the snake or the serpent and healing. It also has to do with this preservation, self-preservation, the limbic system of the brain, the reptilian brain that is focused on self-preservation and survival. And when you are able to hold that energy and use it and channel it properly, the Kundalini energy, the healing potential is significant. And that's really what we are here to do right now. Once we heal from the inside, it will reverberate out, and we will start to see change in our world and in our lives. But we have to really deal with significant healing crises that are coming up all over the place. And some people may have pre-waved this coming into this moment so that they can then guide people through this process. Some people are experiencing it now. And when we look at the intuitive message, you'll see that there is a force to be reckoned with. So, all right, let's see where we start. Also today, Venus is going to conjunct Uranus, and Venus is in her home sign of Taurus. And so she really, I think, is going to be somewhat of a salve and a balm in some ways to the electrical burn that Uranus will absolutely provide for us. Now, it is in the degree of cultivating our own ego consciousness. We have to water our garden of our mind and our material reality if we want want something to grow. And this requires our participation. It requires patience, consistency. If you've grown any plants, you farmed, you're in horticulture, you know that and if you're raising any being, whether it be human, animal, plant, what you know is that consistency is one of the most important factors into healthy growth. So Venus is going to be a balm for this electrical burn today and is going to bring us back around to the requirement of consistent focus on ourselves, our bodies, our material reality, if we want it to grow, if we want, the flowers and the blossoming of our own consciousness, if we want it to be healthy, if we want it to be beautiful, if we want it to be harmonious, something that feels good to us, because that's what Venus is all about. So she will meet Uranus today. There will be certainly shakeups in this area. And with the moon in Virgo, we're getting now pulled down into the depth of who we are and doing the actual work emotionally to take this Kundalini energy and apply it to the healing process. So the astrology is incredible. Today, it's very supportive. It also brings us back to that total solar eclipse, right? On 24 degrees Sagittarius in conjunction with Ras Al-Hag, the head of the snake bearer of Ophiuchus. And we can either harness this healing energy or we can be bitten by the snake. And it's really up to us in this process. And with all eclipses, especially a total solar eclipse, that energy is reverberating out. We have next eclipse season coming in May and June. And so we're still in the midst of this last eclipse season. And so Juno, asteroid Juno, the wife of Zeus, she actually is directly connected to one of the myths that is connected to Ophiuchus, because in one of the myths is, now of course Ophiuchus, the snake charmer, the healer, right? He actually, Pluto was getting kind of jealous and worried because he was able to actually raise people from the dead. He had a very strong knowledge of herbs and healing modalities that allowed him to really heal people and to bring them back from the brink of death and sometimes from death. And so Pluto was like, well, I'm going to be rendered obsolete if this doesn't end. And so Zeus made sure to make that happen. And so, but he was also immortalized in the sky. The other myth that this is really relevant to Juno, the wife of Zeus. So Hercules is also sometimes characterized as this snake bearer, this snake charmer, this Ophiuchus in the constellation in the sky. And one of the things, so, they were always having it out because Zeus, for all of the benefactor and advocate, position that he held, he also did whatever he wanted. And he stepped out on his wife constantly. And she was really not happy about this. And so Hercules is the half mortal son of Zeus. And when he was a baby, his wife, Juno, asteroid Juno, the goddess of contracts and, contractual arrangements, commitments, betrayal, all of those things fall under the umbrella of what Juno represents. She is the queen of the gods in these archetypal structures, but she does represent the aspect of these contracts and what they mean positively and negatively and how we fulfill them. So in her jealousy, she sends 2 snakes to the crib of Hercules to, get rid of them because she's just like, I don't want this half mortal son of my husband from a different baby mama to especially mortal. I mean, that really chapped her. And so she sent these 2 snakes to Hercules' crib, and lo and behold, he was the one. He's just like, nope, I'm half immortal too. I'm the son of Zeus, and so I am going to wrangle these snakes as well. So we have a choice here. There's going to be, if there hasn't already, an instance coming forward that's going to really stimulate and give us a chance to either wrangle these snakes to harness the Kundalini for our own healing potential that is moving through our body, or we're going to either be succumb to it, be bitten by the snake, or the dark side of all of this energy, especially the Draco, because that's also involved as well today. The moon in Virgo is going to meet Vesta at Draco, Alpha Draconis, so which is the serpent. So we can be led around by this powerful, potent energy, and out of our need for self-preservation, try to use it to overpower people, to siphon their energy, or we can be masters of it and use it towards our own healing in whatever way, emotional, physical, whatever. And it's going to, and collectively as well. So the other thing I want to bring up real quick is that, I talked about this pretty directly in that video about the eclipse in December, but it's right on President Trump's moon, in a conjunction with his moon in his 4th house. He's got strong Cancer energy, lots of Cancer energy in his chart. He's also last degree Leo. Last degree Leo ascended on Regulus. So that's the other thing, is the moon is going to cross Regulus in a sextile to Mars, who's also at the last degree of Gemini. And when Mars comes into Cancer tomorrow, it's a decision that needs to be made, and then Mars is stuck there. Mars is at his fall position in Cancer. It is not very powerful. So once we get past that 0 to 1 to 2 degrees of Cancer, Mars starts really losing that power. So right now is the time to make those choices and to really be prepared to root ourselves in a decision when it comes to that warrior fire energy that is really connected to the new moon, because this full moon comes around next week. Oh boy, secrets will come out. The darkness will show itself. And people are really going to struggle with it. All right. So as if we aren't doing that already, but it's going to get really strong. So, all right. And remember, this first quarter square, the sun and the moon at 0 degrees Taurus, 0 degrees Leo. Are we, that blood rushing to the head? What are we going to do? Are we going to allow it to heal our bodies, our souls, our natural, and let the natural fulfillment come through with all this Taurus energy, especially this stellium in Taurus, or are we going to let it rule us? And that first quarter square really set the tone for this week, and we will get to see a lot when this full moon comes on the 26th. Okay, so let's look at the chart, because there are some really just, oh my gosh, quite fascinating things happening today. I hope everyone is doing well. I know I'm a little early today. I have some additional responsibilities that need to be taken care of, so I am on here. But if you're catching this on the replay, on BitChute, on YouTube, or on Subscribestar, it's not a big deal. Most people are catching it on the replay anyway, and so I'm not too worried about it. So, all right, let's look at the chart here. And alrighty, here we go. Here's the 22nd. This is today. Now we're looking at current right now. Look at that. The moon at the last degree of Leo over fixed star Regulus. This is a very regal star. And if you remember, this was the degree of the big eclipse in 2017. Go back and look at around that time period, right before and right after, and see what was going on, because it was, everything changed after that. Everything changed after that. I know my life totally changed after that. Everything that I had anticipated did not go according to plan. So, all right. So what are we looking at here? We are in a, the moon is going to come into a trine with the sun once it moves into Virgo, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you look at this here, the moon is in an opposition to Jupiter in Aquarius. And so actually, if we look at this chart, let's start here, shall we? Now, let's look at this. This is a T-square, right? You have an opposition, and then you have a square angle to one fixed point that really is where we, it's that square, that square here, this point that allows us to find the release point. And it's not an easy release point because it's a square. Well, guess where this is? Black Moon Lilith at fixed star Algol, the head of Medusa. This has been coming up quite a bit lately because this is not only a Pleiadian starseed area, it is the head of the Gorgon, right? The representation of our unresolved trauma coming out and making us a monster. Remember what happened to Medusa? She was actually a very beautiful woman who was essentially raped in the temple of Venus, one of them, and was turned into this beast as a result. She was raped by Neptune. So as you know, she was raped. It was consensual. I've read the whole thing, but the point is that she had sex with Neptune, either consensually or not, in another goddess's temple, and they were not pleased. And so my guess is that she was raped, because then she became this beast, and all of the trauma as a result of that situation has surfaced, and a head of snakes. She was a serpent in and of herself. So again, we see the potential here with the healing aspect of the serpent medicine, but how it also, if not harnessed in the highest degree, serves to literally poison us. And anybody who works with PTSD, any kind of trauma, any kind of aspect like that, that unresolved trauma, unresolved healing issues, health issues, whatever they are, all the Virgo stuff, serves to poison us from within. So Black Moon Lilith is that part of ourselves, the dark feminine that wants to preserve and is directly connected to the earth herself and wants to preserve the divine feminine, but also will again act out when feeling threatened or feeling like that sovereignty is compromised in any way, and needs to be addressed as well. And so you have Black Moon Lilith on Algol as the point of this T-square, where the moon is in an opposition to Jupiter. So where is Jupiter in Aquarius? Well, Jupiter in Aquarius is at a degree, number one, it's the natal moon of the United States of America at this position, 27 to 28 degrees Aquarius. So benefactor, here we are right here. Jupiter is giving us the intelligence, the capacity really to hold this energy, okay? The Sabian symbol is a tree felled, right? You chop down a tree and it's sawed into a supply of wood for the winter. So you're using your knowledge and skill in a natural environment, right? Aquarius is about cosmic coherence to natural law. Knowledge and skill used in its natural surroundings to satisfy vital basic needs, okay? Intelligent foresight. So Jupiter is expanding on this for us. It is advocating. It's a benefactor. It's giving us energy and giving us a view of the big picture here. And so when we meet the hardships inherent in any existence close to nature, which is what we're all kind of striving for, strength and efficiency and intelligence are absolutely needed in order to, chop down a tree and saw it up into firewood for the winter. I mean, it's really not that simple in terms of, you just chop it up. It has to be chopped correctly. It has to be stacked. It needs to be seasoned. There's a lot of things that go into it. So when we're meeting these hardships, whatever they are, and in this case, it's definitely going to be around this healing aspect, either personally or collectively. And you may not even, and the thing about the moon is that it allows us to connect to other people's experiences emotionally too. And so you may not necessarily be feeling it in your personal life, but you are feeling it in a collective sense. And so that is manifesting in some way for you. Anyway, we need all of this efficiency and intelligence that Aquarius represents, but it's all incorporated in a life in which every act can be a beautiful ritual that has deep significance. So even the process of chopping wood and carrying water, being prepared for what is coming, right, is in and of itself a beautiful ritual, has deep significance. So Jupiter is really expanding on this, and it is providing attention with the moon in Leo at this point that is also just a little bit more than overwhelmed with all of the possibilities. And when the Kundalini rises in an individual who is not a prepared container for it, it can poison you. It can go against you. It can poison your mind. You can go insane. The yogis in, the Vedic tradition, right? The pre-Hindu into Hinduism. If you did not, they talked about this, about Westerners not having the correct foundation to do this work. And I have seen it firsthand in people absolutely lose their minds, like mental health crises, when they start working with this energy without proper guidance and without preparation of their vessel. But Jupiter is giving us the vessel. It's expanding on our collective vessel to give harmonic and beautiful significance to all of these really basic things that we do to prepare the container for this process. And Black Moon Lilith, there it is. That's the T-square right here, right? That's the T-square. And it's about separating that trauma, the head of our trauma, separating it from the rest of ourselves and using it as a way to, kill the Kraken, right? The beast in the collective unconscious, the waters of the collective unconscious. That is what the head of Medusa ultimately was used for. And so we can let it take us over with Black Moon Lilith retrograde, or we can be very thoughtful and very aware of this process and know that this process of allowing to lose our heads in a very intentional way is going to provide some release from this tension, in that process in and of itself of letting go of that identity, letting go of that trauma that is expressed as a monster on the outside, letting go of it is the point of is the point where the tension can be released. And it's not going to be easy, but that in itself can be part of the ritual that Jupiter is expanding upon and advocating for us. So that's one, and this has already happened today. This is overnight. So if you felt it in your dreams, if you had something leading up to it, maybe it'll be much more obvious to you as we go through these times. That could be it as well. And like I said, we are now looking at currently, like I said, the moon is, and then in a sextile, as you see here, with Mars at the last degree of Gemini. And this is Betelgeuse, this is Regulus. These are really significant energies connected to fixed stars that have to do with being regal and royal and in our complete sovereign power. And then in a sextile to Mars, it's time to make a decision. All of the options are presented in front of us. The best of our society and skill is presented for us to then make a decision. And Mars is going to do that. And if we're in our full power, emotionally, if we understand exactly what our role is and to allow it's, at the last degree of Leo is an unsealed letter. It's the idea that it's not meant, whatever we've come to is not meant to be hidden, right? Nothing can be really hidden. And there's nothing more senseless than being possessive over the realm of ideas, right? So communication and sharing is all about this degree, and it will always prevail over the will to glorify oneself. That's the potential with Leo, is the glorification of yourself and the narcissism and the overconfidence and the egocentric diva kind of, I'm on the center of my own stage. This means I'm the center of everybody's universe, which is not true. That's a distorted view. When you get to this last degree of Leo, as a ruler, as a real leader, you give of yourself to this process of service. And when you come into Virgo, that's what Virgo is all about, being of service. So the moon then moves into Virgo and then is going to trine the sun. And while this is happening, like I said, Juno is in a trine to Ceres. Ceres is going to come into conjunction with goddess Eris, the dwarf planet Eris, the goddess of chaos, tomorrow. Ceres is the the goddess of the grain and agriculture. And she has a daughter named Persephone, and Persephone was lured into the underworld and became the bride of the bride of Pluto, because she can't leave. And so Ceres actually was able to broker some sort of deal where she was able to come back half of the year. That half of the year is when everything is barren and not growing, because she's in mourning. And then when her daughter comes back to the surface for half the year, that's when she's bountiful and beautiful. So Ceres represents that part of ourselves that needs to go into the underworld. Oh, it's coming. That moon, it's coming. It really is. And so again, in a trine to Juno with at the head of the snake charmer, we can allow ourselves to be influenced and inspired, and to allow these spiritual energies to move through us so that we can be a master of this energy rather than having it poison us, the snake energy. And the moon is going to come into a trine with the sun, and there's beautiful guardianship here and strength within that the moon represents in a trine to the sun. Natural fulfillment, that third degree of Taurus. And so we are protected, and we have everything we need within us to do this work. Then Venus comes and meets Uranus today, as we will see. And like I said, a soothing balm, maybe some, burn cream for this electrical burn that is really challenging us to stay on our own plot of land here and to cultivate our own development, our own material world, our own ego consciousness. And then the moon is going to come into a trine with Vesta, Alpha Draconis, and then, or conjunct Vesta at Alpha Draconis. Okay, Draco Starseeds, you are supposed to be stepping forward now, because you are the ones that know how to wrangle this energy very masterfully. And then comes in a trine with Mercury in Taurus. Again, it's, taking a step forward. And this trine, when we start to utilize this Kundalini energy, this trine to Mercury, it really allows us to see what's coming. Again, to use our imagination, to wrap our minds around the idea of a natural cycle fulfilling itself, and being very focused on the mentally being focused on what is coming, the natural fulfillment of a cycle, to have faith in that cycle. And the moon in Virgo is a 5-year-old child takes a first dancing lesson, right? It's stepping into our power, but also with a cultural context to protect it in some ways, or to give it a form to follow. When the moon does that in this trine to Mercury, we can use our imaginations to see what's coming, and focus on our healing. That's really what this is all about. So I want to show you real quick here before we move on. It was part of the thumbnail for this, but I want to show it again because it's important that Ras Al Hag is in the head of the snake charmer. As you see, the constellation of Ophiuchus, handling the snakes, being the healer, able to hold the serpent energy of the Kundalini. And there's Antares. That's for a different day. We'll talk about that. We shall talk about that. All right, guys, let's look at the reading for today and see what's going on here. And it became clear to me this morning that we all have our role to play, right? We all are the center of our own universe. And that's not to say you can't separate Leo from Aquarius. So for as much as we're the center of our own universe, the center of our own solar system internally, so within as without, you can't separate it from, you can't separate the heart from the cardiovascular system, because the heart doesn't mean anything without a system of vessels to pump the blood through. So we're all at the center here, but we all have a role to play. And if we want to play that role to the best of our ability and why we came here, then we have to now start to go back into the underworld of Virgo and really start to get ourselves sorted out and do the healing work. That Virgo in the 6th house is always usually a healing crisis of some sort that comes and forces us to condition ourselves, put the routines into place, put the discipline into place. And with the moon, it's going to be very emotional, and it's going to be about our intuition. It's going to be about our discernment. It's going to be about that emotional landscape. So let's look at this reading. So there's a lot of fire here on this this horizon of consciousness. We have the art of alchemy, the Prince of Wands, and the Princess of Wands. So we have this art of alchemy as a causal factor, and then we have these two really immature fire energies representing us as people, and just learning how to wrangle this creative potential fire energy. And, with the Prince of Wands, it's very much about the storm of the mind. And as you see here, there's some returning characters. The 6 of Keys now is upright and in the axis of our power, whereas yesterday it was a guidance system, something that hadn't really come in yet. And there's our lightning bolt of Uranus, of course, and moving into the Princess of Wands, the Venus of Fire, right? This is a very playful, carefree energy, and so there's somewhere really beautiful to go if we see that what is happening is about our healing process, either collectively or individually. All right, so here is the art of alchemy, number 14. Talked about this. 4 plus 5 is, in fact, 4 plus 1 is a 5, and 14 is a derivative of 7, which is that wild card. So the art of alchemy, of course, is about bringing these opposite aspects together, fire and water, and creating something more, taking something plain and making it precious. We have this causal energy, this art coming into the moment. Juno and Sagittarius, Juno at fixed star Ras Hal Hag, the snake bearer, right? You think that medicine is a form of alchemy, right? Using the Kundalini energy that is released as the Leo archetype leads to eventually the understanding that alchemy represents, the art of it. All right, there's a science and an art of it, and those two things coming together are Sagittarian too. And so it is Mercury as the ruler of the 6th house. There's that 6th house again. So there is this understanding of the art of alchemy, the ability to solve and combine, the perfect balance, coming into this moment, the causal factor, either us as the alchemist or this opportunity to alchemize, with situations in our life that appear to be in opposition to each other, bringing them together and to heal, okay? And this is where the South Node is, right? So the momentum to move towards our soul's destiny is very Sagittarian. And then we do, like I said, not fixed star, asteroid Juno, right? In retrograde, consider that as well. That means she's going to come back over this point, going direct later. And so we are in a position to really, really be thoughtful about our commitments, what that means, what are the potential pitfalls, how betrayal and trust factor into this when it comes to our ability to alchemize. And we are still going through this eclipse cycle that was in Sagittarius. So this is this causal factor coming into the moment. Here's the Prince of Wands, the storm within the spiritual flaming, the intellect, right? The prince is the prince of the chariot of fire. So he's got a lion. Oh, that's very Leo, right? Pulling him. He's just flames and fire. And he's got this huge fire headdress, right? Just flames and fire and sunlight and flames and fire and sunlight pulling him, right? It's a hot storm filled with action and impulsive energies, right? So we got the Sagittarian energy, which is the coal fire, and then we blow on it, right? That air energy, of the air that is represented by our breath, by our communication, that came through, right? We blow on that coal fire. What happens? Poof. Right? Here we are in the heart of us. We got this flame. We got this courage and tenacity. Sometimes delays will provoke outbursts. So this is about, again, that Taurus energy is in square to Leo. It's a fixed energy. And Taurus is about patience. It is about being determined. It is about consistency. It is about being stubborn in some ways. But it is about the natural fulfillment of these cycles. But in the heart of us, we got this flame. We've blown on this fire, and it's now reignited, and here we are. So where can we look here? So this came out yesterday reversed. Now this is upright in the position of our subconscious root energy, where we are rooted, what maybe we're not fully aware of, but is very active under the surface in our subconscious, the increscent moon. There's increase, there's growth, there's abundance. This is actually the galactic center, the sculptor at work. So do your work in Virgo, right? You better work and then be ready to receive. If we are connected here energetically, if we are allowing the seeds to plant into our subconscious of doing the work, allowing ourselves the time to sculpt, allowing ourselves the skills, putting our skill set to use, right? There's Mars in Gemini, putting that skill set to use, acting on those skills, those technical skills that Gemini represents in the third house, putting it into form. There's that Sagittarian energy again, but this is bringing it into material form. So if we are rooting ourselves here energetically, if this is the basis for the subconscious mind, that we are bringing something into form through our work, through our service, through our healing, through our discipline, then as it moves up through this fire, this storm of the mind, this hot intellect and hot storm and impulsive energies that we are feeling as a result of this coal fire that we have been tending to and stoking, and now we blow on it, and here it is. It's flaming. Well, we are going to get the lightning bolt, of course. That is where our focus is. The lightning bolt, the splitting apart, right? The disappointment, the metaphorical death, the woundedness, the grieving that comes along with it, the disappointment, right? This flash of nature that is so powerful, it splits things apart. It seems unexpected, but we know better, right? Look at all the puddles. We know that this storm has been brewing for a while. When you are having a healing crisis, especially if it's physical, you can bet your ass that it has already been an energetic template in your field. And by the time it gets to the physical nature, it is something that has already been energetically realized and now is manifesting. So it's time to accept the situation and realize that the destruction that this force makes is really an ending that allows for a new beginning. So even this storm of our mind could certainly stimulate in some ways this lightning bolt, this force, right? The forces are the wands in the Akashic Tarot, the creative element that, is the basis for a transformation and creation. So we at the heart of us have this, and the mind, here we are, Mercury with Uranus, especially, both in Taurus, but then when you have all this really hot, fiery energy with Ceres, with Juno, with the moon in the last degrees of Leo, right? The Leo is pulling us, right? And so now we have this Eight of Forces, this lightning bolt that serves to just split us right down the middle, all right? Now, putting all of these factors in place, though, the Princess of Wands is the princess of the shining flame, right? Look at her. She's just riding that wave of creative energy. She's dancing in the flames, right? She's not being pulled along by this this really powerful energy. She's got the cat or the feline by the tail. It's wrapped around her. She is dancing in the flame. She is, and she has an insatiable hunger for life. It's very powerful energy, and it's very playful, and it's very much about Venus. So we can play in these energies. We can find a sense of dancing. Remember, the grouse came up yesterday. We can dance, we can play, we can ride the wave of the flames and enjoy it in some ways rather than being destroyed by it. So if we need some guidance here, if we're struggling with this energy, number one, Raphael, number 8. Oh, this is the healer magician. Oftentimes he's actually pictured with the caduceus. He's got the green orb. He's got the pink heart chakra, the pink emanation from the heart chakra. You notice he doesn't have any wings. So Raphael often comes in the guise of a human guide. It doesn't really come as a very obvious archangel sometimes. Now, when it's an 8, right? Divine intervention. When it's reversed like this, there is a condition that is in need of healing. Absolutely. And the seagull along with it, let's just look at it real quick. Now is the time for deep emotional healing. The seagull is able to dip into the collective unconscious that is the ocean and be in that space and then come back up. And so we're hovering over this, just over this ocean of consciousness that has a ton of emotional stuff, a ton of feelings that need to be dealt with. They need to be expressed. And Raphael reversed is letting us know that we're in this healing mode right now. And we need to ask for help, divine help, spiritual healing, emotional healing. And we can do that through a lot of different ways, your prayer and meditation practice, getting into energy work modalities, of course, consciously working on your thoughts and ideas, if depending on what you are working with and healing. There are miracles that are awaiting, and there is a time for deep emotional healing. And if we see that as our work, if we see that process as us sculpting something, this is where we are really going to be successful in this process, okay? Now, the tiger says you're being called upon to provide leadership, so trust that you're capable of doing so. Well, what is the tiger? Is the art of balancing the yin and the yang. Discerning when to advance and when to yield. And I would say that in this situation, it's both. Because on the one hand, we're yielding to the destructive aspect that the Eight of Forces and the lightning bolt and Uranus and Venus coming together, we have to surrender to it, right? We have to yield to it, but we also have to know when to take action with that. And the Three of Scrolls, setting a new course, this situation is providing the opportunity then to act on setting the new course in our minds, in our thoughts, our focused attention on a new beginning. And you can see the rainbow right here, right? That is the connection between the divine, the spirit, and the matter. It is the promise, right? The link between God and us. It is the fulfilling of the contract. Isn't that interesting? With Juno, again, in the position of the snake bearer. So we have a contract to heal. That is what we're here to do, either physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, past life stuff that is still impacting what's happening now. That's a big theme, actually. I mean, I've had my own experiences with this recently, and I suspect that many people are very unaware of the fact that their past life trauma and their current life but early trauma is still overlaid on how they live their life and how they are seeing a lot of the events unfold around them. So we can set our course for a new way of being, a new place, even literally. It could be time to move, time to go in a new direction, time to find a different location to go to. And the lightning bolt, for as destructive as it's going to be, Venus is coming in and being like, yes, there may be changes, but the reality is that nature still exists. And as long as you are realizing that this is creating space, then you can come in and cultivate the land that is left there. And again, the tiger is saying you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And in this instance, it's both. That's what it feels like to me. And it's rooted in this very deep emotional healing where divine intervention can come in and miracles can happen. And if we see this as our work, our sculptor work, right? We are bringing ourselves into form. We are, the alchemy and the art of alchemy is this causal factor that is coming in and supporting all this. And then really where we get to is Venus dancing in the flames, realizing that the lightning bolt or that tower moment, for instance, is something that we can enjoy and be part of our process of becoming. So that's the transmission for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. If you are catching this on the replay, on YouTube, on BitChute, or on Subscribe Star, thank you so much. To my Subscribe Star supporters, thank you special thank you, because this allows the work, the astrology work specifically, to continue by supporting me in this process. So there will be astrology for the week coming out tomorrow. There'll be a full moon report, and then the whole week's astrology. So it's just heating up, my friends. And so we can really take advantage of this Virgo moon time to get ourselves figured out in some ways, figure out what it is we need to do to be the best version of ourselves, and how to, are we going to wrangle the serpents? Are we going to use that energy as a healing modality? Are we going to be the healers of our own soul? Or are we going to allow these unresolved traumas to just dictate and poison us? That's really what we're being asked collectively and individually. And there's a lot of astrological support right now to do this work. So have a great day, guys. I will see you tomorrow for the daily, and take care of yourselves.